Hey you guys, what's up? It's your girl Jazzay on my She's Such a Fucking Lady YouTube channel. What it do, y'all? So, don't let this big ass smile fool you because right now I'm really stressed the fuck out. And let me tell you why. So, I've been going through a lot. I've been going through so much lately. Where should I start? I haven't checked in with my YouTube channel in a while. It's been a few weeks, almost like 4 weeks maybe. And it's because I've been going through so many life transactions. I'm going to start, there's been a few videos that I made about me being in Warren Village. For those of you who don't know, it's a low income assistance facility that I had gone through after the fact of me becoming a mother. And I was there for about 2.5 years. And then from Warren Village, I was able to be accepted. I was accepted into a program in Colorado called Denver Housing Authority. Denver Housing Authority is a housing program that people all over the world come to Colorado for, just to be on this particular housing list, because they offer this FSS program, which is a program for home ownership. And I waited on the list for about 2.5 years before I was accepted. And once I was a resident with the program, my son and I reside there for about 2.5 years before we left. And I left on my own. And I'm going to tell you why I left. So, when I had first been accepted to Denver Housing, my son had just turned 3. Like we moved there 7/17/17. So 3 7s, which is a good sign. And my son's birthday is 7/24. So it was like maybe a week and a half before his 3rd birthday. And he had just turned 3. So my baby was in daycare at the Warren Village program from 16 months up to 2.5 years, up until we left to DHA. Once we left to DHA, I took my son out of the Warren Village program and I enrolled him into an elementary school by the name of Greenlee Elementary. In this elementary school, there was 2 different programs. There was the kindergarten program and the daycare program. So I went about enrolling my son in both programs, which is 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. so that I could work. Big mistake. My son had just turned 3, and in my honest opinion, enrolling a child that is under the age of 5 into an elementary school is not a good choice. It's better for young children to be in a daycare, or if you can keep your babies at home and get a nanny or, somebody who can homeschool your child, that would be the best bet, because from my experience, it has been no love whatsoever with the DPS, Denver Public School System. And so I enrolled my son into an elementary school when he was 3 years old. And my son kept coming home with marks on his body. My baby had a rash around his mouth for the whole time he was there that could not be explained. I took him to the hospital and they diagnosed him with hand, foot, and mouth virus. But one thing that I know is that within this daycare program, the teachers were having the children brush their teeth way too much. It's kind of sort of like they were putting a drug in their mouth. And this is my honest opinion. I honestly feel as though that my son's preschool teacher was kissing my baby in his mouth. And I feel this way because of the type of language that she would display in front of me towards my child, and just off her spirit alone in my presence, the type of things. My son came home with marks on his body. There was a time where my son came home with a bruised eye. He came home with bruises on his face. He came home with his pinky toenail, which to this day still splits in half. It was very bloody, and it wasn't cut horizontally. It was cut vertically. And it growed back split. Still to this day, when it grows back, he's in pain, which, by the way, teachers don't have permission to clip children's toenails at school. So that's like completely a violation. And so I ended up taking my son out of that school. I quit my job and I became a full-time mom. I was able to do that due to the fact of me having housing. Housing is a program that is based off of one's income. 30% of your income is how much your rent costs. So my rent, if I'm not working, guess what? I don't have any rent. So I took my time during housing to raise my own child. No, I wasn't fucking around and smoking weed and drinking and partying and fucking all day. No, I embedded my morals into my 3-year-old child from the age of 3, who is now 5. 3 to 5. Yes, my son is still homeschooled. So, but I'm no longer in that situation. I am working, I am going to school, so I'm not relying on government assistance or anything like that. However, during the time when I had to take my son out of school, I had to rely on government assistance, welfare. And I want to say that there is a difference between the women who are stereotyped being on welfare and using welfare as a lifestyle. Like, there's a difference between a woman who is using welfare to use her child, like not to use her child, but to raise her child, such as me, and then a woman who has welfare who doesn't have their kids and is doing nothing with their life, just using the government system and abusing it. I'm not one of those women who abuse the system. I used it to my advantage. In the state of Colorado, if you are a mother with a child, you have up to 5 years to use your government assistance. So it makes sense. At first, I didn't understand why the time span was so long. But then after the fact of me having to take my son out of school, I was grateful for that, because with that government assistance, I was able to keep my rent paid. I was able to keep groceries in the house, and I was able to spend time with my child, which is time that as he gets older, I won't be able to have that time anymore. I won't be able to invest that time in him. So I'm grateful for the fact that I have the mindset that I have, because I was able to take that time and use the government to my advantage to be able to train my child. To whereas now, when he starts school in August, he will be, trained by me and not by teachers who could give a fuck about him, who could care less about his future, obviously. So with Denver Housing, going back to DHA, when I was accepted into the program, you guys, I was so happy. I was so grateful, because at Warren Village, my son and I, we were in a 1-bedroom apartment, and it wasn't overcrowded because it was just me and him, but it was a 1-bedroom apartment. And so when we got accepted to housing, we moved into a 2-bedroom house townhome, and it was just a lot of space. Like, it was so much space, it was kind of overwhelming. It was technically a 2-bedroom with a laundry room, but the laundry room was big enough to be a 3rd bedroom. So we went from a 2-bedroom apartment to a 3-bedroom house, just me and my son. And at first, I wasn't really aware of what was going on. I just knew that, oh my God, we have all this space, we have our own house. But then as everything started to come together, as far as me having to take my son out of school and really just having time to think about everything that I had gone through with Warren Village, as far as them trying to interfere with my college success. Yes, you guys, at this point, I should have a college degree, but because of the staffing at Warren Village, located off of 13th and Gilpin, I am still in school working towards my degree. And I'm not complaining, because I'm grateful for the time that I had to invest in my child. However, with everything that occurred, I definitely have a lawsuit on my hands in regards to being able to sue for harassment, especially for the fact that they violated HIPAA. And that's mainly the main thing that I have a case for. They violated my privacy, and it's on camera at that. You know what I mean? So leaving Warren Village over there, this is about DHA. It was nothing but harassment. Even though my rent was only based off my income, it was still a disruptance of my peace of mind. So when I first got to DHA, like I said, I was grateful. I had a property manager who, she wasn't giving me a hard time about anything. I was working, going to school. My son was in school. My rent was being paid on time. Like, I didn't have any problems. I'm not somebody who has a lot of people at my house all the time. I don't do house parties, and I'm not kicking it all the time. I was like literally just handling my business. And so my first property manager and her assistant were really cool. Like, I had a really nice relationship with them. But then that property manager ended up advancing to a new level, and I got a new property manager who was just really ghetto and like insecure, and I don't know really what's wrong with this woman, but she really gave me a hard time for no reason. And so those of you who follow me on social media know that I do nails. I do polygel and acrylic nails. My nails are short right now because I'm in school and I'm doing a lot of typing. but I started doing nails and I was having my products ordered on Amazon. And so with that being said, with the first property manager, I didn't have a neighbor. Like the neighbors who lived next to me, they had moved out. And for a long time, I didn't have neighbors on one side of me. So I was having my packages delivered from Amazon and I was receiving my packages just fine. But then they moved this really ghetto, tacky, low-life, deadbeat ass mom next door to me. And I'm not normally a disrespectful person, but this is really how I feel about this woman, for the simple fact that she has housing and she doesn't have her kid and she doesn't work. She doesn't go to school. She doesn't have a job. She has a lot of like strays, like men and women who don't work and who are like pretty much bums in and out of her house all the time. And she just caused a lot of drama. She was stealing my Amazon packages off of my front porch, you guys. And she told on herself. She told on herself that it was her. I had my boyfriend at the time. I guess she was attracted to my boyfriend and was trying to get his attention. He had me a package delivered on my porch, and I had been waiting for it. I was anxious. It was a power drill of mine, which is pretty. It was like a $50 investment. And along with my package, my boyfriend at the time had something delivered as well in the same package. And so when the package was delivered, a few days after the package was delivered, she texted me like, oh, the UPS guy. Yeah, we had exchanged numbers because I was trying to get to know this girl. I needed a babysitter. So I was trying to get to know her. However, I never left my child with her ever. And so I did have her phone number, and she texted me and she was like, hey girl, the UPS guy dropped off an Amazon package and had me signed for you. For one, I didn't require a signature. And for two, like, why are you touching my shit? And so she ended up, my boyfriend came and she ended up giving him a package, what was in the package for him. Mind you, there was no Amazon box on the package, and there was no tracking paper. There was nothing. It was just already open, and she gave it to him. And my shit was just gone. Like, my package was completely gone. I had been waiting forever to be able to order this product. I finally got it ordered, and she stole my shit right off my porch, you guys, in blunt daylight. And so I filed a police report because I knew it was her. And she confirmed the fact that she stole it when she told me that somebody had required a signature from her to sign for somebody else. Like, this neighbor doesn't know, this UPS guy doesn't know that I know you. Why would he need you to sign for my package? And second of all, I didn't request a signature for the package in the first place. My packages have been delivered just fine before you showed up. So I ended up reporting her instead of fighting her, because I'm grown and I don't have time to be in jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a nurse aide and I have my son depending on me. Like, I just don't have time to be in jail for something that I didn't do. So yeah, I reported her ass. Call it what you want, but I'm grown. And so from me reporting her after that, she was like constantly banging on my walls, constantly banging on my door at all hours of the day, trying to fight me. So I put a police report on her ass and a restraining order on her. Yes, my next door neighbor, who we sharing the same walls. So she's like talking shit to me on a regular basis. Like, how do you have time for this when you should be at work? You don't have your kid. What are you doing with your life? Meanwhile, I'm working, going to school, and taking care of my kid. And so I had to get the property manager involved. And during this time of me getting the property manager involved, she didn't do her job. I reached out to her and let her know what was going on. And she told me that she was going to get a copy of the report and everything to file. And she didn't. I gave this woman 4 weeks. That's 30 days to do her job. And she didn't. So I ended up getting the police reports, and I ended up going to her office and taking her the police reports. So during this time of me taking her this report of everything that was going on with this stuff ass bitch next door, she had a stack of complaints against me from this neighbor and everybody in her house who was not supposed to be in her house. And so ever since that day, I have been receiving possession for compliances on my door from this property manager. Okay. I had reached out to who I thought was my property manager in email. Everything I have is documented. Numbers don't lie, you guys. And so I reached out to this property manager's manager in regards to scheduling a meeting for a transfer. At this point, I just couldn't take the harassment anymore. And in the email, it specifically states that I wanted a transfer, period. And so the meeting was approved. There were two lead managers and the property manager that attended the meeting. Tell me why the property manager showed up to this transfer meeting without the transfer paperwork. She had everybody else's complaints against me for whatever reason. All I do is mind my business and stay out the way. She had everybody else's paperwork, but showed up to my transfer meeting without the transfer paperwork. Therefore, my transfer was verbally approved by 3 managers. Verbally approved. I should have had them write it down, but I wasn't really thinking about it at the time because these people are in management position and I'm thinking, okay, their word is bond. So there was no signature signed on their behalf. They didn't even just tell me that, yes, you can have your transfer. They even went as far as telling me that it may take up to 6 months. It may take 3 to 6 months. These are the words that came out of their mouths, you guys. And so they told me that the legal department for Denver Housing Authority was going to reach out to me within a few weeks and that we were going to get the transfer in process, in motion. So I waited another 4 weeks and the legal department never reached out to me. So I did some research because that's what I do. And I called the legal department myself and I sent an email, seeing what was going on with my transfer. And the legal department told me that my transfer had been denied. So this company, this Denver Housing Authority, they went about verbally approving my transfer, and then they turned around and digitally denied my transfer, knowing my situation, knowing how bad I'm being harassed, in the environment, not with just this neighbor, but also with the teacher who got caught touching my child after, I had to take my son out of school. So I'm being harassed on a regular basis. And then the Mexicans on the other side of me took it upon themselves to graffiti all over my trash can. And then they took it upon themselves to graffiti, at the grocery store that I go to, at the laundromat, at the freaking library, like really harassing me, you guys, really harassing me. And so, after a while, I just couldn't take it it was to the point to where I'm like, I'm about to get a pistol and I'm about to just start pulling the trigger because I have the right, Second Amendment. I have the right to film. I have the right to defend myself, especially with these people knocking on my door, causing confrontation, disturbing my peace. I was getting letters from the property manager stating that I was disturbing the peace and that I had people living in my house who were supposed to be there, and put possession compliance, stating that she was going to put my things outside and have me and my son evicted and have that eviction notice on my record, and just like nonstop harassment for like 2 years, you guys, for like a year and a half. And it came to the point to where, I'm feeling like if I feel like I'm having to kill somebody, bitch, it's time to go, because that's not my character at all. Like, I go to school, I take care of my son by myself. These motherfuckers know that. These people know that my son's dad, he's not in the picture. Yeah, he's on papers. I had to put him on papers after I took my son out of school because I didn't have any financial stability coming in, and I have this baby that I didn't make by myself, and his dad won't even take him for 3 days out of the week so that I can keep a job. So I had to do what I had to do, and I put him on child support for only $300. This man makes $21 an hour. So he's making a lot of money, and he's spending more than $300 on haircuts and Jordans alone. So $300 for your son a month is nothing compared to what you're spending on stupid shit: weed, cigarettes, Jordans, haircuts. My son is 6 years old and you've never even taken him to get a haircut type shit. And these women know that I'm over here raising this young man by myself. My mother lives in North Carolina, so I don't have my mom's support. My dad died, so he's not here to help. My sisters have their own lives. They don't have kids, so they don't feel as though they have to help me with mine. And my son's dad is not in the picture at all. So I'm literally raising my child by myself, and I can't send him to school because I tried that and it didn't work out. You guys were poisoning my child and disrupting our peace. So I took him out of school and I invested my time. Instead of giving my time to somebody else for a paycheck, I invested my time in my child for the long run. Yeah, because I'm that smart. So anyways, I ended up moving 2020. So February 2020, I left. I packed up me and my son's things, and I left the house very peacefully, and I sent an email letting them know, like, look, you guys can have this property. I'm sure there's another family out there who could use it. I don't want it anymore. Your keys are in the mailbox. I even went as far as painting the walls before I left. Like, I didn't leave it messy. I cleaned up, I scrubbed the walls, I scrubbed the floors. The messiest thing was probably the stove. I really tried to scrub under there, but for the most part, I left it very, very respectfully. And so I don't want to say that I'm homeless, but I don't have a home of my own anymore. And I'm kind of just going where God leads me. And since February, me and my son have been to 4 different places. The first place we went to, I was living with one of my friends who I had met at work, and she was different. She was different, and it just wasn't working because she just, she had her own devils that she was dealing with. I had given her a couple hundred to stay with her. We were there for 4 weeks. And from there, I ended up moving with my boyfriend. And I ended up moving into a house with him that I was originally supposed to move with him in before I moved with this girl. That's a different story for a different video. That's like a whole nother story. So if you're interested in that, just tune back in because I am going to be sharing that story after this, within this same time frame. And so it didn't work out because he had 2 roommates, 2 guys, and one of them was gay for my man, and clearly my man was gay for him. And so he ended up putting me and my son out. And so I'm like, okay, he had given me a certain time, but I ended up just moving before that time, even though I had given him $500 for rent. I paid for rent in advance. So it's not like I was just living in his house for free or living there having sex with him for rent. Like, no, I gave him $500 for rent and on top of having sex with him and cooking for him. So, and that wasn't good enough. And now I know why. It's because he's gay. So moving on from there, I ended up moving from there to my dad's widow's house, his wife. My dad died. So I ended up moving to my stepmom's house, and my stepmom, her son killed himself 2 years ago, and she's still dealing with that. And she's not good company. She's not somebody who I'm comfortable being around. So that lasted for 4 days. And once again, I wasn't living off of her. I had given her $200 up front, the very first day I was there. Me and my son were there for 4 days. It didn't work out. And so I reached out on Facebook, and, I have a large audience on Facebook, and a couple people reached back out to me. And so now I'm living with one of my friends who I met on Facebook, and yes, I'm paying rent. And so far it's been the most comfortable fit since my son and I have moved. Like, he's been very respectful. He has kids, so my kids have other people to play with. I have my own space, so I'm not complaining. And then the good thing about everything throughout all of this hardship is that I have my truck. I'm driving. It's been 2 years because my vehicle was stolen, but I now have a truck, and it's a truck that I really I'm happy about. However, my truck got towed last night, so I'm working on getting my truck back. It's just like, when will this cycle end? It's like, I'm a good person, and I don't treat people disrespectfully, and I don't steal, I don't kill, I'm not sucking dick for money. You know what I'm saying? I'm not out here in these streets. I don't get drunk every day. Y'all, I even quit smoking weed. I was a low-key pothead when I was going through everything I was going through. And I haven't smoked weed in like almost a month. So it's just like, I'm really, I'm holding on to my faith, but I'm really on like a thin, like I'm hanging on by a thread, my piece of sanity. And I kind of just wanted to share my story with you guys. So it's been real. Peace for now. Keep me and my son in your prayers. If you could send us love, that would be grateful. If you could send us I have a Cash App if you want to help me out financially. I am working. However, I just got onboarded with the nursing home. I'm making a pretty good pay. I also am working with a serving position called LGC. Shout out to you, because they're pretty legit about work. LGC and All Team Staffing, they're pretty legit about consistent work, and it's pay every week. So I'm grateful for my mentality. So I don't know, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.